Well, we're in Psalm 44, and I want to invite you to join me there. We're turning a bit of a corner in the psalm today as we move into the second part. Three parts of the psalm. Part one kind of says, God, you're awesome, and we've heard amazing stories about your deliverance. And so because of that, because of your track record and your reliability, we're going to resolve to trust you and wait for you and praise you and remember that you glory over us and you are worth glorying in. But part two is, but God, it seems like you've forsaken us. We've experienced defeat, and we don't know how to feel about this. You've led us into some really difficult stuff. It gets real dark, verses 9 through 16. But then verse 17 comes back topside and says, but we're going to wait on you. And we know you're doing something significant. We're going to trust you anyway. So let's take a look at verse 9. After the first 8 verses of God saying, the psalmist saying, we've heard the great stories of how awesome you are. We're going to resolve to do some right things. Here's the experience of the Israelites in this song. Maybe you can identify, maybe you feel this way at times in your life. So he says, but thou hast cast off and put us to shame. We're embarrassed, we're humiliated. And goest not forth with our armies. God, it doesn't seem like you're with us. We lost. We went out and there was loss, there was defeat. Thou makest us turn back from the enemy. And they which hate us spoil for themselves. People have taken advantage of us. We're running from battle. We're losing. You ever feel like you're losing in life? Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat. You've left us to be slaughtered and scattered us among the heathen. We've been sent to pagan foreign nations. We're dispersed abroad. What good could possibly come from this? Thou sellest thy people for naught, dost not increase thy wealth by their price. You've sold us for nothing. You made nothing on the deal. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn, a derision to them that are round about us. Everybody. We're the laughing stock of the geopolitical world. God, we thought we were the people that were supposed to magnify you and glorify you and prove your existence to the world. And yet you've brought us low. You've humiliated us. We're the laughing stock. We're an embarrassment. We were a great power, a great force, but now people shake their heads at us and laugh to scorn. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. Look at verse 15. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face has covered me. I am just completely embarrassed. I'm completely ashamed. And I'm absolutely confused. God, this is completely perplexing. We were doing well. You thrust us into a platform of global influence. You gave us strength and might. You exalted us. We were exalting you before the world, and now the world is laughing at us. Look at verse 16. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth by reason of the enemy and avenger. So we'll break this down over a couple of days. I've always wanted to go faster than we end up going. I don't intend to go one verse at a time, but just take this whole section for a minute and think about the experience of feeling irrational defeat and feeling completely forsaken and abandoned by God. Now, here's what's interesting. Verse 17 is going to tell us they haven't forgotten God. Whenever this happened, whenever this defeat was experienced, here's where I'm going at. You can point to times in history, Israel could have pointed in times in history where defeat was the result of sin. In other words, God was dealing with a chastening hand. He was cultivating and chastening them and rebuking and correcting them. And he was letting the defeat and the pain be the thing that got their attention and jolted them to repentance. Sorrow that led to repentance. But this is not one of those times. So in other words, you might be able to think of times in your life where defeat, as we studied in Psalm 107, was a result of your own bad decisions, your own foolishness, your own sin. And so you got yourself into trouble. Even then, God responds to repentance. God is long-suffering and gracious and merciful. So he's never just meting out punishment or justice for the sake of it. He is longing to bring us back. He's longing for us to turn back to him. He doesn't take delight in that chastening experience. But this is not one of those times. And so there are times in our lives where we can generally see, although imperfectly, there's not a malice in us. There's not malicious. There's not intentional sin. There's not an intentional, deliberate rebellion against God. And yet, God leads us into a season of defeat or a feeling of oppression or abandonment, or the experience is that I'm losing and there is great cost being lost here. God's left me to be slaughtered, to be ravaged by the circumstances of my life, or by broken relationships, or by injustice, or by just persecution, just spiritual battle and oppression. And for the moment, it feels like we're losing. I think verses 9 through 16 teach us a couple of things. First of all, that this experience is real, that it is deep, that it goes really deep, that it is perplexing and confusing. We'll come to that. I think it teaches us primarily that God hasn't really gone anywhere, but the experience feels like he has, and that God is, as he can be, as glorified in temporary defeats as he is in perpetual victory. That he's doing something in our hard places, and that we can still run to him and we can still resolve how to respond in those hard places. So my friend, if you feel cast off, if you feel put to shame, if you feel like you've gone out into battle and God did not go with you, I think it's good to take hope that you are not alone. And I think it's important to spend some time meditating on the feelings, the emotions that are being expressed in this psalm. And know this, God is a safe place to express those emotions. He's a safe place to express those experiences. So go to him, tell him how you're feeling, and rest in him, wait on him, and resolve to trust him. That's enough for today. See you this weekend, and we'll meet again on Monday.